Hi friends, how are you? I hope you are doing well. So in this video we will learn about the useMemo hook. In the previous video we learned about the use callback hook. So in this video we will learn about the useMemo hook. So both hooks like useMemo and use callback, both hooks are same. The difference is that the useMemo hook provide the memoized value and use callback hook provide the memoized function, and both are used to improve the performance and the dependent and both are run once the dependency array will change. So now we can see with the example. So I already create an example here, and we can go into the code. So now we can see here, like this is the component, useMemo component. Inside the component I am rendering the two rows. Initially two rows are blank, so I am initially rendering the two rows, and when I click on this to do button, I just add the new to do. We can add, I am adding the new text, new to do in this to do's array. And then second thing is there is a input button, there is a increment button. So once I click on this increment button, I am incrementing the value of this count variable, and we are using this calculation. What is the calculation here? Calculation is a function. So from what is the function doing here? So this function, like this function have the heavy calculations. So like this is the 10 crore times, if the loop is running from 0 to 10 crore times, so it will take a more time. So when I click this add to do, it means we are updating the states, and while we are updating the states, it means that we are re-rendering our whole component. So if we are re-rendering our whole component, this calculation method will also work, it will also re-render. So it will take a more time. Why that? I am adding the add to do, and it will re-render this, it will call this method as well, and it will this method will run from 0 to 10 crore times. So it will take a more time, so it will decrease the performance of our React component. So I want that this heavy calculation, expensive calculation method should only run when this count variable change. When I click on this increment button, only that scenario I want. When I click on this count in plus button, this increment plus button, only that scenario I want to calculate this heavy calculation function. I want to call this heavy calculation function. Now we can see that like this is the example. So I am click on this to do button. So what I am doing, when I click on this to do button, now what happened when I click on this to do button, whole component will re-render again and again. When I click this button, then again the component will re-render, and component will render this heavy calculation. This method will also run, and there are no any changes inside the count, because I am just adding the add to do here. I am not changing the count variable, but still this calculation method will execute, and this will take a more time. So I am clicking this one. So yeah, but this is taking a time. This is taking a time to add new to do inside the to do's. I want this when I want when I add, when I click on this to do button, then this heavy calculation method should not work, because I don't need to call this method. I just adding the new property in this to do's. I don't want to use this heavy calculation, and I want when I click on this count, in that scenario only this heavy calculation method should run, because the count, we want this count inside our heavy calculation functions. So that's why we want only when I click on this increment button, only that scenario this method will execute. Otherwise when I click on this add to do button, then in that scenario I don't want to call this heavy calculation function. So what I can do for this, now I am directly using this function. So now I can memorize this value using the useMemo. useMemo is a callback hook, and I also pass the dependency. So this count is passing from here, and then we are able to get inside the number, and I call this like a expensive calculation method. Now this expensive calculation method will only run when we change in the count state. So now you can see the performance. So I just run the application. So I'm just clicking here, instantly adding the to-dos. It's not taking a time as previously. In the previously it was taking a time, and now I just memorize this value, and and like this heavy calculation, like this expensive calculation, this method is not calling now. When I click on this to do button, then this expensive calculation method are not running because there are no any changes inside the count. And if I click on this count button, now this heavy calculation method will work. And now again if I click on this button, now it's not taking time because now count value is 1. So this is the add to those this is the add use memo hook. So I think you got my point, and if you have any doubts, so please let me know. You can comment on my video, and I will also share the URL. I create all the hooks in the in my VS Code and push the code into my repository, so you can check out from the Git repository, and you can check at your end. And still you have any issue, please let me know. Thank you for watching.